leaving out early in the morning, trying to get to her spot. Get up there by the truck, fixing to hop truck. Matthew spots a skunk. I'm like, well, video it. I'll keep the light on it. His second day we've seen this skunk around our truck. We're hoping that he'll just keep his distance from us, and not get too close. I like him, but not that much. Now, going in that morning, I was easing up to my little spot. I'm using a ditch to access this little flat right here. And just on the other side of this little hump, I could hear deer walking, so I'm very, very intently trying to sneak up on these deer. And then this little doe comes up here and looks at me. Now, she done got me figured out, so I'm just kind of messing with her a little bit. Once I realize that it's a doe, and a young doe at that, I'm not real too concerned about whether I bug her out. Boy, she was curious though. She stood around, and stood around. Now there's other deer behind her. I don't know what they are. I'm assuming they're does, but I can still hear them walking around back there. Even though this one's still stomping her foot, acting nervous, the other deer don't seem to be too bothered by it. I don't know if you guys want to watch this all the way through or not, but I felt like I'm just going to let the video ride. You can kind of see how long it can take sometimes to sneak around a little group of deer. I do cut some of it out. I probably cut about 7 minutes of it out. Now she gonna try to circle downwind of me and see if she can catch my scent. But if you notice, there's a thick, heavy fog, and there's literally no air moving. So that thick, heavy fog is just holding my scent right at the ground where I'm standing. And she's not gonna most likely be able to smell me where she's at. Here comes Mama Doe. She steps out there and she looks right at me as well. Now I don't know how y'all feel, but I believe I could have killed this Mama Doe right here. She's about 15 yards from me at that. And I could have drew right there as she was walking. I could have probably put it right behind that front shoulder and put her down, but I didn't travel all the way to Kentucky to shoot a doe. Unless, of course, I've got my buck on the ground first. It's kind of an expensive trip to drive up there just to shoot a nanny. She ain't gonna give up. She's gonna try her best to figure out what I am. Now y'all can't see it on camera, but right now I'm kind of flicking my hand like a deer flicks its tail, just trying to mess with her. And believe it or not, sometimes it'll freak a deer out, or it'll fool a deer into thinking that you're nothing harmful. I don't understand what it is they think, but I'll just kind of hold one hand down to my side and flag it back and forth. My dad used to do that to call deer to him with a handkerchief when he was gun hunting years ago. He'd get them within range, they could see that white hanky for a long ways, and they think you're a deer, and they'll come run up to you. I've used it a few times bow hunting, but by the time they get within bow range of you, it's hard for you to make a draw on a deer that's looking at you without blowing them out, so I quit doing it for the most part. I still have a couple of tricks up my sleeve with it, but I use it sparingly. I think some of the old timers used to call it flagging up a deer. Now once I stop moving altogether and just freeze and don't move or do anything, that seems to be when she gets the most nervous. She's trying to figure out, is this thing gonna jump at me? What is this thing? I don't know what's going on through her head, but I guarantee you, she's confused at this moment. The other little deer gets a little bit nervous. Now she gets a little more nervous. The deer behind her is getting up there next to her. She's just not going to take no chances. She's fixing to take her youngins and leave. Can't get me to move. Can't figure me out. She's about 20 yards right there at best. She's fixing to blow out. Deer will make a noise too. You'll hear me sniffing my nose. Deer do that a lot of times when they're trying to clear their nose to get a better smell of you. And I think sometimes they might think you're another deer, but they know good and well you're not if they're looking at you. And maybe that makes them nervous as well. Who knows what goes on in a deer's head. Bye, sweetheart. Bring your boyfriend back to me, alright?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and kind of run her off. I ain't got all morning long to stand here and watch her. I'm still on the ground. I snuck up to these deer. I got to get in my tree, because if there's a buck anywhere around, he heard that and he's wanting to come over here and check because he knows there's does in the area. So I'm going to go over and get on that trail where the does were and kind of split these two trails where I think the buck might walk. That's my game plan this morning. Today's Thursday. This would be actually the first morning hunt that I actually get to do.
My son's sitting on a hump about 100 yards away from me. We kind of split this little area up, and apparently he was trying to film me from where he's at. I don't know if he was trying to tell how well I blended into the tree, or or how much I stuck out. I'm not really sure, but I guess he was kind of bored. We didn't see anything after the doe situation. Ended up being quite a long morning. I'm actually set up right on the edge of a bed area in a bunch of high CRP grass. Well, we got down and it's on to the next spot.
These blackbirds are knocking acorns out, and it sounds like raindrops. They're falling so hard. It's crazy how many acorns is in them trees. With all them acorns falling, ain't seen a deer. My son's set up on acorns too. The problem is there's acorns everywhere, so you have to find that pinch point where all the deer trails come together. I actually think I just saw a deer over there. I'm looking now. Of course, it won't do me no good 100 yards over there. Maybe we'll see something today.
Guys, I set up on an acorn tree that was absolutely loaded with acorns, and these birds knocked every single acorn out. It finally got quiet in the woods, and Mr. Squirrel here had more work than he wanted. He got busy. There ain't no telling how many thousands of acorns hit the ground, and he's got to bury them all, so he's going to be busy for a few days.
Well, it's Thursday afternoon. There's so many leaves has fell on the ground you can't even tell where the deer trails are. But you know that deer walk terrain breaks, and you can still see some very faint deer trails here and there. And I'm kind of sitting in a small saddle on top of a ridge off to one side, hoping a big one will walk by. That's my game plan. Well, it's closing time in Kentucky on a Thursday evening hunt. All I seen was a coyote and a bunch of squirrels. I ain't even heard a deer. I'm done with this spot. 3 does is all I've seen in this spot. Could have killed one of those, but I'm really after a buck. Spent a lot of money to come to Kentucky and hunt up here with a non-resident license. You don't want to go home with a doe. Closing time.